Hi, Duane. Thank you for meeting with me today.
Thanks. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yep. Well, in a few minutes, tell me what about yourself and what you do.
Well, the 30-year speech I'll do in a minute and a half. I've been in construction my entire career. Ever since I was probably in high school working with my grandfather. I've got a degree in building construction, and I've worked in all facets of the industry, from commercial work to high-end estate homes to remodeling, and even had a client hire me to hang pictures. So I've been in all parts of the industry. I've probably spent half of my career working for other businesses and the other half of my career working for myself. So I've seen a lot of aspects of the industry, and it served me well.
And how did you start working for yourself? What led you there?
The first one that led me there was I was laid off, which I think happens to a lot of entrepreneurs. And that's actually what led me again to starting my own business after the '08 crash. I was laid off. The company I was working for just literally ran out of work, and I had bills to pay, and I knew how I could make some money to pay the bills, and that was to start my own business again and get out there and do some remodeling.
And well, which business did you start at that time? You did your own remodeling work?
I did my own remodeling and did some consulting work, serving as an owner's rep with some high-end estate clients, and then mainly um, remodeling work. At the time, it was kitchen and bath works and small decks and additions.
Okay. And how long have you been in the business, in your own business?
I have run my own business. I was actually thinking about it this morning. It's probably been 15 to 17 years out of my career. I have been on my own in some form or another. So everything from, startups, starting literally from scratch, tool belt on, to sitting back with a team of individuals and running the organization. So I've seen all aspects of it.
And what do you like about your industry?
Uh, I love the industry because these are some of the hardest working folks I've ever met, and with a heart of soul. And honestly, the remodeling industry as a whole, which I've been primarily involved in, has a really bad reputation. Most
Okay.
people, they trust remodelers right up there where they trust the used car salesman. And I like to say CarMax ruined that for us, because now you can trust the used car salesman. So we've got a bad rap, but it's not because these aren't guys that don't love to build. They've got a heart of soul. They want to do the right thing for everybody. Their challenge is running a good business, and they get themselves in trouble.
And how is that? Why do they have a bad rep?
Businesses usually they run out of money. They don't manage the business well. They don't manage the business as a true separate entity. Their love and their desire is in the construction trades themselves. They like being out in the field. And I got to be honest with you, I love being out in the field. It's a lot of fun, but it's not conducive to running a good business. If you're going to run a good business, you got to run the business. And they get enamored with the field. They don't step away from it. And as a result, they find themselves in financial trouble because they're not putting the right markup on things. They're not managing their cash flow the way they should be. And one day they wake up and go, I'm broke, because it's a slow bleed. It's a 5-year bleed. And usually by year 5, they realize I can't do this anymore.
So they're working in the business, not on the business.
Correct.
Yeah. And what would you say differentiates you from competitors?
The differentiation, I think, is because I've been in the business. I have started my own business. So when I'm coaching clients, I come from a viewpoint of being in the industry. My focus is literally on the building industry, builders and remodelers, because I've done both in my career. So I know their pain points. I know the struggles they're going through. I can empathize with those points. I've had the fights with my wife over where's the cash? How are we going to pay the bills? I've literally been there. So I know them. I know them as people. So I can really care about their situation. But I've also stepped back and run my own successful businesses. I have learned how to step away from the field. The last time I did it, it was tool belt on. I needed cash immediately to pay the mortgage. So I went out there and did some work, and I can make money with the tool belt on. All of us can. My goal was to get that tool belt back off as quickly as I possibly could and get back to running a true business.
Okay. And tell me, do you have more than one business right now? What's your business model like now?
My current business model, I have recently shut down my remodeling business. During COVID, I went full-time into the coaching and consulting realm. Prior to that, I had done a little bit of the coaching and consulting, and I was running my own remodeling company. When COVID hit, I was sure that our market was about to crash. I had no idea that everybody sitting in their houses would say, hey, we got to fix this place up, and remodeling actually took off. But at that point, I was done with it. I was burned out in my own industry from that standpoint. And I decided to go full-time into coaching and consulting for the builders and remodelers.
So you closed your remodeling business because you were burnt out, mainly?
Mainly. I lost enthusiasm for it. And I think it happens to a lot of us in our own industries. And I mean, people would call up and they'd go, hey, Duane, we're thinking about remodeling this kitchen. And I was like, it sounds great. And I don't care. Well, that's just not the right attitude for the client. It's not a good attitude for me. It's not a good attitude for the business. Fortunately, I had good people who really enjoyed doing the work. But my enthusiasm for one more bathroom, one more kitchen, it was still challenging. There's always challenges in the industry, but my enthusiasm was gone. And I wanted to find a way where I could still be active. I want to be active, till they dig my gravesite. And I wanted to find a way where I could still participate in the industry, still be engaged in the industry. And I said, what I can do is I can help the upcoming remodelers with their businesses so they don't have to go through the struggles that I went through.
Right.
We can get them set up so they can be successful now, not in 20 years.
Have you considered having your remodeling business still in the future, but managing it only on a business side, having like a project manager manage all the the individual projects so you don't have to go and do it yourself?
I have considered it. Part of that is a personal lifestyle decision. I want to be more flexible in my location. So this business allows me to work from anywhere. I was down in, my wife wanted to go down and visit with some friends down on the beach in South Carolina this summer. And off we went, me with my laptop in hand, and I could jump on a Zoom call. I could take care of my business, from the beach in South Carolina, and then, head on down to the beach in the afternoon. That's a lifestyle decision I have made for myself. And that's the business I am building around that desire to be that person. Running a remodeling company, even if I can run it as a true business and have a team in place, which I can do, and I've done it before. There are times the client wants to meet with you. There are times when you just need to go out to the job site and check out the problem yourself, which leaves me more geographically confined. And that is the only reason that I don't do it. It's just, I don't want to be that tied to one zip code.
So tell me about your business model now. With your
my business model now, I'm sorry, what was the end of that?
With your current project.
My current business model is working with, like I said, my main clients are probably those 5-year clients, 3-year clients who are new into their entrepreneur business. They're realizing the struggles they're having with running a business, with knowing how to build a business and what that all means and what those processes are. And a lot of it comes down to, as you're working in the field all day, if you're coming up through the trades, there's a lot of aspects of business that we're never taught, right down to good accounting practices. What does it mean to have a good marketing plan? What are good sales skills? How do I set up a project management team so I don't have to be involved in every decision of every project? These type of things are what young businesses struggle through. And so my program is a 6-month program that literally goes through all of the steps of setting up and running a business. And ultimately, I want to get all of those systems integrated. So, a lot of guys, they'll run out, they're like, yeah, I got to get my accounting straightened out. They'll go buy an accounting system and they'll kind of get it set up. And then they're like, I got to fix estimating. I'll go buy an estimating program. Okay, that kind of gets set up too. But the estimating program doesn't talk to the accounting system. So none of it's connected, none of it's working together. So having systems is one thing, but having integrated systems is when the business owner can really focus on running the business independently and making sure, like I like to say, your job in the morning is to make sure the machine is oiled and it's all running smoothly, but not, in there, being part of the gears and the administration of everything on a job. So that's what I take my clients through, take them through their accounting, their sales, their estimating, their field production, and how that feeds back up into their accounting process.
Right. And what are some obstacles that you ran into in your remodeling business and also your coaching business that that you had to overcome?
For me, one of the biggest obstacles in the remodeling business was a lot of what I'm doing now is the coaching. I thought I understood business. My father was an entrepreneur, ran his own business his entire career. And he never worked for anybody else. And, I had the mentality of how hard could this be? I can figure this out. And as I said before, it took me like 20 years to figure out that I didn't know what I was doing. My first business failed. I wasn't marking up enough, but I was convinced I couldn't mark up anymore. And that was a failure on my part that it took me probably 10 to 15 years for me to admit. I blamed it on the bad customers and everybody else. It was their fault, not mine. But I've ultimately realized it was my bad business skills. And that was my biggest challenge in remodeling as well. Even though I was trying to set up a true business, I didn't know what that meant. And I didn't know the challenges that were in front of me and what I needed to fix. Given everything I've learned in business, I thought going into the consulting and coaching realm would be far easier. It's another business. I can do this. I know the industry. Basically, I've been coaching my entire life. I've been coaching other employees. I've been coaching new staff members. I've been coaching field superintendents. It's been part of what I've done as a business owner. I said, this is going to be a piece of cake. The biggest lesson I learned as I got into this is I still didn't know how to sell. In remodeling, it was a lot more of order taking. People said, I want a new kitchen. What would it cost? I'd price it up and they'd go, okay, let's go forward. It was more of a transaction over the counter, like buying a soda, where I didn't really need or had developed any true sales skills of how to show people the value that I brought to the table. And these are the skills I am now learning and have learned as a business coach, which has been fantastic because they're all skills I wish I had known when I was a remodeler, because I could probably signed up a bunch more deals if I truly had better sales skills. So it's come in full circle. The coaching has taught me a lot. I thought, I got this business thing down, and fortunately, like everything else, you realize what you don't know and you just keep learning. So it's been a fun adventure learning a whole lot more about nuances in business that I didn't understand before.
Oops, sorry about that. And remind me, when did you start your coaching business again?
I've been doing the coaching for where are we at, for about 5 or 6 years. As I said, in the beginning, I was doing it in tandem with my remodeling business. And then at the beginning of COVID, in about March of that year, April of that year, I closed down the last couple of jobs that I had going in my remodeling business and went full-time into coaching. And then basically spent, because there were no speaking engagements available, I spent the first 6-8 months building a network on LinkedIn.
Right. And is that where most of your marketing comes from, LinkedIn?
That's where I market the most. I don't do, I did a little bit on Facebook in the beginning. My premise is that builders and remodelers who are on LinkedIn are more likely to be business minded, to be business focused, where, nothing to disparage you guys that are on Facebook, because I tell my clients, if you're looking for work, get on Facebook. That's where your clients are. But I don't want to be talking to the guy that's got a ladder on the back of his truck, Dan in a van kind of guy that doesn't understand that he needs to have a business. My premise is that the folks on LinkedIn are thinking more about how to run a business, and
Right.
they're more of my people. So LinkedIn, being a business community, has been my primary marketing tool.
Okay. Yeah. It's very useful. LinkedIn. Everyone there is looking for new connections and looking to network. I found that there's a lot more friction on there as opposed to Facebook or other platforms. So, what are some of your biggest accomplishments within your business?
Biggest accomplishments in my business, I would say, probably. I mean, there's been it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I have done some crazy stuff through the years. When I was building estate homes, we had one project, took 4 years to build. It was 27,000 square feet. That in itself was a phenomenal project and a huge. I consider it a feather in my cap that we accomplished that project, and we got it all done. Finished it up sharply with no punch list. It was just a great project. But one of the things I'm most proud of is I needed a project manager in my last business, and I brought on a woman that had some background in construction. Her and her husband had built a house before, so she knew some of the terminology. She knew something about it, but she really didn't know how to be a construction project manager. And I trained her and coached her into that role. She is still doing it today. And she became a phenomenal project manager. She actually got to the point where she was out doing sales for me as well. And so that was a personal accomplishment that I'm kind of proud of. It's nice to see somebody who had no skills come up. She told me the other day, I ran into her and she was like, I still do things and go, oh yeah, Duane taught me this. Or what would Duane do in a situation like this? So that is gratifying. It's rewarding to see those successes.
Yeah, you really are a professional in your field. It shows. So,
Thank you.
what are some leaders or entrepreneurs that you looked up to or that you really respect throughout over the years as a model of how you want to structure your own businesses or inspiration?
One of my inspirations, which may sound weird, is Bill Gates. And I have read his books and I was completely disappointed because it's not the story I wanted to hear. I was completely enamored with the fact that within 7 to 10 years, that company went from, basically a garage or a dorm room to the Microsoft campus. The story I want to hear about that is how do you bring all those people together? That many people, hundreds of thousands of people. How do you get all those buildings built? How do you have an HR system in place? How do you have an accounting system in place? Who makes all these decisions? This must have been a crazy time in the life of Microsoft as they went from nothing to the mega corporation they became. Loving business and loving systems, that story is the story I really want to hear. And seeing what they did to build that company, just looking at it from the outside, has always been an inspiration for me, that they did that relatively cleanly. There were no nasty stories out there going, Microsoft did this, Microsoft did that. They put a good team together and they built a really large organization really fast.
Yeah. And what are the takeaways you got from that story?
I would say the biggest takeaway is that it can be done. And I don't know, but I'm assuming Bill Gates didn't do this himself. This wasn't a top-down effort. There was no way he had enough time in his day. Just like, how do you set up a vacation policy? Nobody came to him one day and said, hey, we got to figure out what our vacation policy is. He's like, I've got computer software to write. Like, I got to get onto the market. I've got all this other stuff to do. He didn't have time for these things. He brought in the right people.
Yep.
He brought in people that he could trust to make these decisions on his behalf. And he quickly learned how to build a system that would report back up to him. So he knew what he was running in the company without actually having to do that at a massive scale. That's, to say, any one of the people I work with, they're like, I got to do it all myself. I've got to be involved in everything. Microsoft would not be where it is today, if Bill Gates had said, I've got to be the one that decides on vacation policy. I've got to decide, which, medical system we're going to offer to our employees. What's our employee HR policy? He didn't have time for that. He had the right people in there helping him with those decisions. And that's how they got to where they were.
Yeah, he brought in experts in their respective fields, and he focused on what he was good at, and that's
Exactly.
a business. Yeah,
Right. And then that's the same thing we need to focus on as small businesses ourselves. Now, it's not on that scale, but it can be done. Right. I mean, Apple did it, Microsoft did it, Amazon did it. I mean, when it was time to scale, they scaled, and they had all the right people in place to make those decisions. So for any of us as small business owners to say, well, I don't have the ability to scale. Yes, you can. If they can do it, if they can take it to that level, you can go from 1 million to 2 million. You can do it.
Right. Well, what's one of your biggest business insights regarding growing as a business, or getting over obstacles and hurdles, either mental or in reality within your business?
I would say probably the biggest obstacle that I have personally faced, and I think most of my clients, most of the people I meet with, is that all business problems are personal problems. Now, I will be the first to say that you are not your business. But in many ways, the struggles that we have with business to say, well, I can't be a $5 million business. That's in your head. That's a mental problem. That's a mental block that you've got. You've got to get over that. And a lot of the struggles that we face in business have to do with our own mental limitations. We put these in front of, well, I don't understand accounting. I can't do accounting. It's adding and subtracting. You've been doing that since you were in 3rd grade. You can do it. It's not that complicated, but we put these mental blocks in place, and we need to get over those mental struggles. And I've had them myself. I think we all do, well, I can't do that. And I think, the other aspect of it is to get a good foundation for your business in place. There's just certain things that you need in business. And this is what I focus on with my clients is, you need a good accounting system. You need a good way to price your work. You need a good marketing system. You've got to know how to do sales, or you got to bring in people that can do sales. And you've got to have a production system to build what you're selling. Get those in place and get them running well. Scale as far as you want at that point. Now you're just adding, commas to the numbers. But those basic foundations will continue to grow with you if you have those in place.
And what's one of your financial lessons for remodelers, construction owners?
Probably the biggest financial is, one, know your numbers. Know what it takes to run your business. Know what your cost is to do business. Understand markup and margin, and mark up accordingly. What you understand as a remodeler or a builder is what everybody else is charging is not true. The successful guys I talked to, honestly, I talked to a guy earlier this week, and he told me what his markup was. He said, I'm marking up 10 and 5. I was like, well, then you're losing money all day long. You can't live on 10 and 5 in the remodeling industry. So I emailed him back and I said, we got to get on the phone. He emailed me back and he said, oh, no, that's what I show the client is 10 and 5. That's what I show to my architects, because I bury my fee. The real numbers are all buried inside my costs because they don't want to see what it really takes for me to run my business. I show them what I want to see. So as remodelers, we're thinking, oh, Bob's over there. He's marking up his jobs 20%. If Bob is successful, Bob is bearing, far more than that in the rest of the numbers. He's showing the client 20% because beyond that, their head would explode. So you need to mark up your work, what it takes for you to run your business. You're not running spectacular overhead costs that is not competitive with the industry. Trust me on that. We're all making about the same amount of money. We're all doing the same kind of work. Our costs are very similar. If you're going to be successful, you have to know your numbers. You have to mark up accordingly. And then it will all begin to fall in place.
Right. So what's one of your what's the biggest realization you made that spurred you forward in your businesses? Mainly mental realization.
Um, Mental realizations, I guess, is understanding that most of our roadblocks have to do with fear. Um, if we can't get over a hurdle, we're usually afraid of something. If it's well, I can't do public speaking. Well, we're afraid of getting up there looking like a fool. We're afraid of something. And the challenge a lot of times is we can't even identify that fear. Some of those fears are easier to overcome if we can get our hands around them. If my fear is being embarrassed, okay, I can work on that. A lot of times we don't know what the fear is. And it literally takes just getting on that horse again. We fell down, whatever we're afraid of, we may not figure it out, but press forward. Just keep going. You may figure out that fear, or you may work right past it and never really figure out what that fear was, but you're now doing whatever that work was that you needed to do, and you're doing it successfully. And it's actually pretty easy now. You look back and you go, I don't know why I thought that was going to be so hard. But you just got to press forward. You've got to press past that fear, even if you don't know what it is.
Right. Persevering through. Yeah.
Get back on that horse. Just get back on the horse.
So what legacy do you want to leave behind?
The legacy I'd like to leave behind is that I have helped the remodeling industry. I love building industry as a whole. I don't like the reputation that the remodeling industry has. And, I really want to build up other builders and remodelers as much as I can. I want to improve the industry. I want folks to be proud of the industry that they're working in. And I want other people to understand that there are good businessmen out there running very good remodeling businesses, and that's who they want to be working for. And if I could leave a little bit of that behind to improve the industry a bit more and help a few guys, grow their businesses, because if you look at the industry as a whole, there is no McDonald's out there. There's no McDonald's of the remodeling industry. There is no one to point to. You move into a new town, you find the new local guy. Most folks have not gotten beyond one town. I only know of a couple of, I call them remodelers, but they do remodeling, that have gone beyond one state. So the opportunities are enormous out there for anybody who wants to get themselves organized and really run with an industry that is in desperate need of good people. It's like a gold mine, not necessarily from a cash standpoint, but from a business and professional standpoint. The opportunities out there are huge.
Right. And finally, sorry about that. Finally, what's a message you'd like to share with the audience?
Message I'd like to share with the audience. I guess if you're starting out in your own business, there's a lot of work to do, without a doubt. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a lot of days. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices. The main thing to know is, where are you going with this? Why are you doing this? Like I said, I have a personal objective in my business right now to live more of a freedom lifestyle that I'm not tied to a zip code. Yours may be, I want to own a vacation home on the lake, which is fine, but know why you're doing this. Because when you're having those bad days, some days, that's all you've got to hold on to. You're just like, I'm getting that cabin on the lake. I'm getting there. I'm going to persevere. It was a bad day, but I'm getting there. So know where you're going with your personal life and your business, and it will help you get over those bad days.
Duane, thank you for your wise words, and thank you for joining me today. It was great having you on.
No, thank you for the opportunity. I love talking about this stuff. And if somebody raises their hand and said, do you want to talk about construction and business? I'm there.
Well, I myself learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience will learn a lot about, your perspective too. And there's a lot of good takeaways from today. So again, thank you. And we'll
Thank
talk.
you.